I've put up with a lot in my life. But this is where I draw the line. Hey Reddit, my name is Alex, 28M, and I have a stepmother from hell. Her name is Linda, 49F, and she has turned my family into a nightmare I never saw coming. It wasn't always this bad. Or maybe it was, and I just didn't want to see it. Linda married my dad 10 years ago, and from the moment she stepped into our lives, she took over. Every single family, event, birthdays, her show, Christmas, her rules. Even random Sunday dinners turned into a performance for her benefit. You might think, well, maybe she's just really into family gatherings. No, this isn't about family. It's about control. Linda doesn't just plan events. She dictates how they happen. The decorations, the guest list, the menu, the outfits. She even once demanded that I change the gift I got for my sister because it didn't fit her theme for that year's Christmas party. And God forbid you question her choices. I made that mistake exactly once when I was 20. I casually mentioned that maybe we should let my grandma host Thanksgiving, just like we used to before Linda came into the picture. Linda lost it. She didn't yell. Oh no, she's too calculated for that. Instead, she spent the entire dinner giving me the coldest, most passive-aggressive treatment imaginable. Oh, I'm so sorry my efforts aren't good enough for some people. Maybe next time, you should just do everything yourself since you clearly know better. No, it's fine. I just won't bother anymore. That was the first time I saw my dad cave. He begged me to apologize just to keep the peace. I should have seen it then. The pattern. The way she manipulated situations so that she was always the victim, always in control. But I was young. I thought, whatever, this is just how she is. I let it go. I let everything go, until she came after my family. I got engaged to my fiancée, Emma, 26F, in early 2021. We had big plans. A beautiful summer wedding, nothing over the top, just something that reflected us. Then Emma got pregnant. Our son Nathan was born, and the wedding got pushed back. Not a big deal, right? We were in no rush. We had our family, and that was what mattered. But from the moment we started planning again, Linda made it her mission to take over. It started with suggestions. Oh, wouldn't it be so much easier if I handled the guest list for you? Darling, I know a much better venue. Yours is a little, simple. I should talk to your planner. She's not listening to me about the floral arrangements. I said no every time. She kept pushing. She called the wedding planner behind our backs to try and override our decisions. She showed up uninvited to Emma's dress fittings, pretending she had some urgent input about what looked best. She was furious that I wouldn't make her mother of the groom in the wedding program. She actually suggested that my dad walk Emma down the aisle over her own brother who had raised her after their parents passed away. And she had one very specific demand that made my blood boil. She did not want Luke in the wedding. For those of you who don't know, Emma and I aren't just raising our son, we're also raising her little half-brother, Luke, 4M. Emma gained custody of him a few months into our relationship after his parents died in an accident. She stepped up to raise him, and I moved in with them during the pandemic. I've been in Luke's life since he was a baby. He doesn't call me Dad, and that's okay. He calls me Alex. He calls Emma his sister, but we love him like our own. Linda? She hates him. From the beginning, she made disgusting comments about how Emma was baby-trapping me with Luke, that taking in someone else's kid was a mistake. Then Nathan was born. And suddenly, Linda started acting like Nathan was our only child. She completely ignored Luke at family gatherings. She refused to acknowledge him in conversations. But the worst part? She actively discouraged my dad from babysitting him. Dad, I can watch the kids this weekend. Linda, Nathan, sure, but you don't want to deal with both, right? You're not some babysitter. She made it clear that she did not consider Luke part of the family. And then came the final straw. Last weekend, Emma and I had an event to attend. My brother-in-law, who usually watches the kids, was out of town. Emma's siblings live in different cities, and my mom and sister weren't available. For the first time in years, my dad finally agreed to babysit both Nathan and Luke. Linda, of course, was not happy. We came home that night expecting to find the kids asleep. Instead, we walked into a nightmare. Luke was crying his heart out. Nathan was sobbing. Linda was screaming at my dad. My dad looked like he'd aged 20 years. We barely got through the door before Linda turned on us, yelling about how Luke had no right to be part of our family. Why? Because he had told her he was going to be the ring bearer, and that was enough for her to completely lose it. Luke, my sweet, innocent 4-year-old Luke, was curled up on the floor, shaking, his face red from crying. And then he told us what she did. Linda had grabbed his arm and shoved him, calling him a brat for stealing a role that should have belonged to someone in the family. "Emma!" screamed at her. I kicked them out immediately. My dad had a choice. He chose her. And now, he's furious at me. He's convinced half of our family to boycott our wedding. And I am done. I don't know how to describe the feeling of watching your own father walk out the door after siding with a woman who just assaulted a child. I was shaking. Emma was shaking, but Luke was still crying. And that was the only thing that mattered in that moment. We scooped him up and held him, whispering over and over, "You're safe. She's gone. She will never hurt you again." Nathan, just a baby, was clinging to Emma, terrified because he'd just witnessed something no child should ever see. He didn't understand what happened, but he knew it was bad. Emma didn't hesitate. The next morning, we took Luke to the pediatrician to get him checked. His wrist was red where Linda had grabbed him, and though it wasn't broken or sprained, the doctor noted visible bruising. And that was it. That was all we needed. We took every piece of evidence we had, Luke's medical report, the nanny cam footage of her screaming at him, photos of his injury, and we filed a police report. Linda, she was going to answer for this. The moment Linda found out we were pressing charges, she lost it. She called my sister, my aunt, my cousins, anyone who would listen, to play the victim. Her version of events: "I'm being punished for caring too much. I was just trying to discipline him. Kids today are so soft. They're trying to destroy our family over a simple misunderstanding. And the worst? Luke is a liar." I almost drove to their house and tore the place down when I heard that. She was actually blaming a 4-year-old. My dad. He stood by her. Not once did he ask if Luke was okay. Not once did he reach out to Emma or me to apologize. Instead, he doubled down, telling my sister that we were being cruel and that we were ruining Linda's life over a little discipline. A little discipline. Like shoving a terrified 4-year-old and screaming in his face is just good parenting. I blocked his number that night, and I felt nothing. The news spread like wildfire through the family. Most of them, especially the younger generation, took our side. But a handful, the ones who still had that old-school blood is thicker than water mentality, they refused to believe it. Linda would never hurt a child. This is just a misunderstanding. You need to talk it out. Your father is heartbroken. You need to make things right with him. Make things right with him. He watched his wife assault a child and did nothing. No, absolutely not. The final straw? My stepbrother Daniel completely took her side. Daniel and I grew up together. We were practically twins. We're only a month apart in age. We played together as kids, got our first cars at the same time, went to the same college. And now, he was siding with the woman who attacked a child. Dude, she was just upset. Luke was probably being a brat. You and Emma overreact to everything. It's so messed up that you're trying to get her arrested. I hung up on him mid-sentence, and that was the last time we spoke. 3 weeks after the incident, we finally got our restraining order. Linda was officially barred from coming within 500 feet of us, our house, and our kids. She and my dad had to appear in court for the hearing, and let me tell you, seeing her face when the judge granted it, pure fury. Her carefully crafted mask shattered the moment the ruling came down. She turned bright red, gripping my dad's arm so tight I thought she'd break it. And my dad, he just looked tired. Because deep down, he knew. He knew she had lost, and he chose her anyway. We left that courthouse free for the first time in months. Emma was in tears, happy tears, for the first time in so long. That night, we celebrated the way any exhausted, traumatized parents would. We bought McDonald's, curled up on the couch, and watched Disney movies with the kids until we all fell asleep in a big pile. It was the best night we'd had in a long time. Fast forward to our wedding. No Linda, no Dad, no Daniel, and it was perfect. Luke and Nathan stole the show as our ring bearers. They walked down the aisle together, holding hands, and I swear there wasn't a dry eye in the house. The whole day was filled with love, laughter, and the people who actually deserved to be there. And just like that, the final chapter of Linda's control over my life closed forever. I thought that was it. I thought we were done. Then, 2 months after the wedding, my phone rang. Daniel. I almost didn't answer. But I did. And the first words out of his mouth, I was wrong. Turns out, Linda finally turned on him too. After months of defending her, he finally saw who she really was. She got into a screaming match with his girlfriend, accused her of trying to steal him away, and went ballistic when Daniel tried to defend her. The same manipulation, the same cruelty. Just this time, he was the target. And now, he was out. He cut ties with her completely, and for the first time in nearly a year, we sat down and talked like brothers again. It'll take time. I'm not going to forgive him overnight. But maybe, just maybe, there's hope for us. As for my dad, he's still with Linda, still defending her, still pretending everything's fine. But that's not my problem anymore, because for the first time in years, I'm truly free.